excited about it, your client's not gonna be excited about it. Right?
Well, I keep telling people, this is the perfect storm. I think of that George Clooney movie when he got in that perfect storm. And I think in real estate right now, we're in the perfect storm, but in a really advantageous way because the interest rates are the lowest they've been in 100 years. And the market, all the economists agree that the market, the bottom has already happened, that we're starting to move up. So there's just so much exciting, and people are trapped. My ex-husband is trapped in a house that he bought in 2004. I sold it to him. Yeah, well, he's an executive with AT&T. He bought this big giant house on an interest-only loan, and then if the market started tanking, I tried not to laugh. The market started tanking after that, and he was totally trapped in this house. And I called him the other day. I went and did research on my own because he's been stuck here. Their whole life plan was to live there for 5 years, make a big profit, and then sell it and downsize. Well, then they got trapped because it was too much money, which is, these are, the high-end houses are good ones to hit. So what I did is I wrote up a whole market report before I even called him. I did all the comparables, I ran all the numbers, and I know that it could have been a waste of my time, but what else do I have to do with my time? I'm a gold digger. Oh, that sounded bad.
The truth will set you free.
Well, but I sent him a report on his house and what it would be worth today, and it boggled my mind because I can't believe how much recovery he's made. But he could sell it right now, I think, for a profit.
And that's probably information that'd be of value to him.
It was very valuable, and so I had to convince his ex-wife to use me as a realtor, so it had to be that good, or no, his new wife.
Right.
Not the ex-wife. But you know what? He's thinking about listing with me, $725,000.
Awesome.
So, I want to pause here for a second, because this is some really cool stuff. So you took it upon yourself, you didn't even call, you took it upon yourself to do the work beforehand, so you knew the numbers that could make you valid in that conversation, and that's going to be something that
I want to be the best gold digger that there ever was. Miner.
That's what you're doing.
Miner,
You're out there, you're vital every single day. That might not be on that individual, but if you had done that for 5 or 10 individuals, I mean, the numbers would support it.
But I keep doing that. I keep pretending like every lead that I get is going to work.
That's huge.
And by pretending that it's going to work, I do all of the work, and people think I'm crazy because I'll do 2 hours of prep work to show a $100,000 house, but you know what? Then I own the customer after that. So that 2 hours, I would spend, so then I get with them and they're so impressed because they're like, you already looked up on this house that I'm not even gonna buy, you know, what the comps are? Well, yeah, you're very important to me. And it just, but I consider every name, this is why I think he asked me to talk today, because I consider since I'm thinking of myself as a gold miner, there, I got it right that time. Every name that I get and I put into my SOI I consider it potential gold. And I don't want to let any of it go because I've been in the wrong place at the wrong time too many times financially, so I want to maximize on this day that I'm in right now. So when it comes to my sphere of influence, I have every lead. You would be so impressed. I have everybody. I have notes about what their favorite things are. Every conversation, I make notes about the client so that I have little talk points that I can do. But every client in my SOI, it was one job liked, I think, I have scheduled for when the next call is. And it pops up on my computer every day, call these 5 people. So if I talk to somebody, it's one of the tricks I use, is in Keller Williams, you can schedule a call for each contact. And so when I'm talking to them, I make myself schedule the next call. Because I think everybody in my SOI should have some time, even if it's a year from now, that I should call them. But hey, I just feel really on top of things now because I'll tell a customer, well, I'll call you in a month and we'll see how that's going. Well, what's fun is my computer pops up and says, this is the day you told them you'd call. And I call them and they start trusting me. I'm building trust because I do what I say when I say I'm going to do it. But I couldn't do it without the computer system because I'm lazy by nature.
All right, so you guys catch some pretty big things there. I mean, trust, consistency. You're building the trust by doing what you said you were going to do. There's also something else too. You're personalized with some of your communication, whether it be email or whatever. So tell me a little bit more about how you personalize that stuff rather than just sending out a blast email.
Okay, I set up Microsoft Outlook is my favorite thing to do for setting up contacts because it has all the options and features that I like to use. But what I'm doing, what was the question we were talking about?
How are you personalizing
Oh,
it?
personalize it. On Microsoft Outlook, I can have quick notes that I can send to people, and so I have formatted notes one of them is like asking people for an update, and then I say, would you take a moment and give me an opportunity to update my records?
I'm gonna dive deep on this. How long is that email?
The email is 2 sentences long. And I really worked on it hard, and one of the things I try to do is I try to give the customer one action item. And people are obedient, it's funny, but if you say, would you give me a moment to update my records? And I just have these 2 sentences, what I do is before I send it, each person gets personalized. And for a girl who used to be lazy, I'm doing really good. Because I bring up those 2 sentences and I look at their record, all the notes that I've made, and I say, how's your new grandbaby? Or something that lets them know that I'm sitting behind the computer sending this message to them.
As a real life person.
And yes, that it's not just, so I love the new technology and I love drip campaigns, but I'm real picky that I like them to feel that personal touch all the time. And I'm getting an amazing amount of responses to it. For that little campaign that I did, I sent out, I would say like 100 emails with that 2-sentence thing plus a personalization. I got back more than 25% of those emails came back. One person, I showed John one, you want to tell him about that one that you read?
Go for it. You do it.
I wrote to one guy and I said, I'm updating my records and I haven't heard from you in so long. What's happened to you? Are you still looking for a house or not? And I try to make it like more personal, my language. Well, he writes back and says, LOL, I haven't looked for a house in 30 years. And I thought, well, he wrote back. That's something. I mean, I'm thinking, how do I make gold out of this one? So I wrote back to him and I said, 30 years, you must be really sick of that house. Is it time to get a new one? Now, I really do use that kind of language, which I think kind of shocks people, but they know I'm not a computer. So then he writes back and says, okay, truthfully, I'm getting ready to retire to Florida. And I showed this chain of emails to him because we went back and forth over like 10 minutes time. He said, I'm getting ready to move to Florida. And I said, he said, I'm getting ready to move to Florida in the spring. And I said, I must be psychic. It's spring, let's go. And so then he sends me an email and tells me everything about his house so that I can best price it for him. How thick his carpet is and how big his rooms are. And at that point, because I get excited, I go, oh, now, he's mine now.
Yeah, but it's that personalization, it's the engagement that's leading you to these opportunities.
Yeah, well, that and the fact that I pretend like every person that I meet is gold. It's potential gold.
I like just gold, right? I mean, if you believe that they're truly gold and you're treating them like gold, they're gonna feel that, right?
And then they give me referrals, and it's working well, I think. But I'm so excited. I love to help people buy houses. I've moved all the time, so I really think that it's even a charitable thing that we do. We put them in a place where they're going to meet a whole new community, where their families are going to grow and thrive, and it's just a really important, exciting time for them, and I just feel honored to be part of it.
I appreciate you sharing that with us today, because that's some pretty cool stuff. Are you going to be able to stick around a little bit after the meeting, too, if anybody has questions as far as how specifically you might be communicating with some of those folks? Is that
Sure,
right?
if it can help anybody.
High five, girl.
Okay.
Great job. Pretty cool stuff there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Treat them like gold, right?
I like that. I want to cut out a gold nugget and stick it on my board.
Better yet, buy me
Yeah.
a gold ring. I'm a gold digger.
The reason I love that so much, though, is that so often maybe we get burnt or we get jaded by some of the individuals who don't turn into, or don't do the things that they say that they're going to do, like buy or sell or whatever it might be. And so then we start treating everybody with a little bit more of a casual commitment. I mean, has that ever happened? Or am I the only person that's happened to?
Well, I guess, you know, I'm going to be really honest with you, going back to the rookie panel that we got to go to see down at SCAR. Bonnie was on it, Logan Strange, and Lauren, I can't remember Lauren's last name, Johnson. The biggest thing I got out of that was Logan saying, don't give up, don't give up. He goes, I call that for sale loan every Monday morning or whatever. And
So
it's
go up there,
amazing.
perfect segue.
Well, because I just want to share, you know, a client that Corey's going out with is, I showed him a house a year ago, one of my listings. They didn't buy it, but we've been keeping in touch. And we just listed their house this week, and Corey's going to write a contract with them tomorrow between $300,000 and $500,000. So it's
I love
you
That's a perfect segue then. All right, so first of all, there's some really cool stuff that's going on in your business. You've got a goal this month. You're getting 2 listing appointments, and then what's cool there as well is that you're converting those listing appointments. So first of all, tell me what that goal is that you got this month.
Oh, my goal, Fritz, my coach, has made the goal that I have to get 16 listings this month.
What's the most you've ever gotten in a month?
The month we did it was 15.
15?
So we have to do it about
You gotta do
that.
one more than that. All right, so best ever month. How are you doing in relation to that?
Well, I have to look at what which month they hit it, because we were right at that cusp between June and July, but, we've got 8 out of 10 in the last listing appointments. that we went on.
So you're telling me you might say back a few that you're telling me?
No, 8 out of 10 right now. we've got.
So that's awesome, so it's July 15th, so you're right on schedule.
On pace.
So July 15th, you got 8 listings, you got 8 more to go. So how are you getting those listing appointments? That's probably my first question.
Well, the girls are actually helping because they're bringing in from their sphere, and they're also bringing first sale by owner leads in, and we're converting the first sale by owner leads, expired leads, and reaching out to our SLI.
Okay. From my knowledge of your business, you consistently communicate with your sphere of influence. Are you adding on more for sale by owners and expireds right now?
Yes, I never went after those before, and now that the girls are giving me the addresses, the phone numbers, we're making appointments, and we're dripping to them, yes.
It's holding accountable to it, so that's good. So basically, figure out a way to hold yourself accountable to getting these leads in the door and then making those contacts. So, what are you doing with those for sale by owners and expireds to get in that door to get a listing appointment? Because that's not the easiest thing.
Well, what you think you have to remember in the first sale by owner, you're not there to list in the day that you go. If that's what you're trying to do, you might as well not even go on an appointment, because it's not gonna happen. Unless they've been on the market already for 6 months. But what I find is if the buyer specialists make the appointment, that they, wanna know what the inventory is, that gets us in there, and then I just call them and I just use the script from Bold that basically says, I always ask, where are you moving to? And if they say out of state, whatever, we kind of get in that conversation, and then I get into the conversation as to, well, I'm just calling you because you might be a potential buyer for one of our listings, and it kind of catches them off guard. And you get the appointment, but the thing is, get the appointment, go to it, show up on time, and then put them on your 8-week trip. And it's about week 5 to 6 is when you start getting the response back from them. And I call them every Monday.
All right, so you're religiously calling them on Monday. Why Monday?
Because after the weekend, if they had an open house or didn't get any contracts, the first thing you're calling is on Monday and saying, oh, well, hey, how was the weekend? Did you get an offer? No. Did you get any showings? Yeah, we were supposed to have 4 appointments and only 2 showed up. Oh man, I know how that's really, and they just and we've got 2 for sale by owners that we put on that campaign that we listed. One listed last week and one's gonna list this week. So it takes a little time.
So you're saying that follow system is critical. So what's maybe 1 or 2 things that you deliver to them, an item of value or something that sets you apart from maybe some of the other 5 or 6 realtors that are calling what consistently?
Well, one, I'm not trying to get them on that first appointment. I just go and I gather information and I send them a handwritten note after I leave. And then the next week is a phone call, and then the next week I'll send them some of what we're doing. I'll show 10 homes that we've sold in the last 30 days, and a lot of them have sold in 1 week, sold 0 days on the market, ask us how. And then I do some market stats.
You got an offer for an immediate response. Basically you're showing benefit evidence, there's positive things going on in the market. Call me and I'll tell you how I'm doing it.
Yeah.
And that's as easy as.
Yeah, and then when I went on the listing appointment that I took on the first day of my owner, it's like $330,000. When I got there, she says, well, would you like to know why we chose you? Because, they were adamant the first week, the second week, the third week, they were not listing, okay? And I said, sure, I'd love to know. And she said, every other agent gave up after week 2 and 3. She goes, you were the only agent that kept on going after week 2 and 3. And then she said the thing was, you always asked permission when you called me on Monday. You always said, hi Jane, this is Stephanie, do you have a minute for me? And if I didn't, I would say, I don't have a minute, and you'd say, oh great, you know what, no big deal, I'll just call you next week. That's huge, gathering that permission. And then all these agents called her, and her dad had died, and I was the only agent that sent her a little card and said, hey, you know what, if we can help you in any way while you're out of town for this funeral, if you need any help showing your home, we'll be glad to come over and help you in any way possible. Sorry about your father's passing. So it was the personal relationship like you're talking about.
Personalization's coming in key as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. If somebody is looking to go ahead and bring on a focus on for sale by owners and expireds, what's the one thing that you would share with them to go ahead and get those leads?
One, look for them. If you see a for sale by owner sign, stop, get the number. If they're home, knock on the door. If they're not, call them back. It's the consistency and the follow-up, and just be their friend. Don't try and sell them that very first day. I'll tell you that.
Okay, so basically,
Consistency.
I need to be consistent for at least 3 weeks.
To get past those other two, right? Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
great, I love that.
And
So-
don't tell them you have a buyer.
No.
Use the script right, say, you know, we want to know about the listings in the area for our potential buyers, and, you know, things like that. I would just say, you know what, right now, this time, I don't know if I have a buyer for you or not, I haven't seen your house. You know, and then once I see their house, I follow up with them and give them feedback, you know, that's what's important.
I'd imagine that honesty might breed some trust.
Mm-hmm.
I think you mentioned that the other agents also, they had a buyer, when they don't materialize.
Right.
How do you make that pivot, right?
Right,
If
because then
I'm-
they don't trust you, because, you know, that's why I don't say you've got a buyer. But I'll be honest with you, we've been having luck, because Leslie's shown her clients, her for sale by owner. I don't know if Corey did not, but we've been actually showing the for sale by owners too to clients, because there's not enough inventory.
You know, I think that's a key piece. I'm gonna catch you here real quick. If I did have a buyer right now, I'm probably calling for sale by owners and expireds that actually meet their criteria.
Criteria.
And I am saying I've got a potential
Mhm.
buyer for that.
Right, exactly.
Because that's at 4-month inventory, we need to get more proactive. We need to start earning those checks again.
Right.
So when let's say Leslie's showing, you get a one-party listing on that to get them to commit to paying your commission?
What did you do that day?
That was,
Yeah.
that was the agreement, if
Yeah.
I brought something, that absolutely he would do a one party.
And most of them are saying that they'll do one party listing, and they're telling you what they're gonna pay.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
No, I'm just saying, like, are you getting it in writing, or are you just showing it first? And
I don't know, what, did you get it right? I don't even know, I
I
have to
did
ask.
not get it in writing, he said if you bring me a buyer, I will sign the paper.
You know, so it'd probably be a good idea for us to have that
No,
conversation.
I'm just
Yeah.
curious, like, you know, I guess
Yeah.
at that point, you're showing trust to them, so
Yeah.
that could be fine.
Mhm, yeah.
To me, I know what the broker would want, obviously, and to protect yourself. But, at the end of the day, I'm assuming you just had a certain level of confidence that he was gonna do what he said.
Well, on that one in particular, when I first stopped and talked to him, I looked at the house and I had 2 or 3 people in mind, and I think I got 2 out of the 3 over there to at least look at it. And then, there was a little block of time, and he called me and said, listen, we've had a big price reduction.
Right.
This
So you
might
called
help
and called her,
bring
right.
somebody here, so, I did bring one other person in there since then, it hasn't sold yet, but, I think I'm one of the only ones, I think he said he talked to Laura as well.
Mhm.
So he's getting a lot of,
Showing
people
some-
from our
right.
company,
Mhm.
showing a lot of interest in the home.
And that's what I will say, is all the people that we're calling for sale by owner expireds are all saying that KW is really hitting them hard and heavy. And so that's making an impression when you do go in there, because they know that we're working hard and we're trying to get, those things done too. But the other thing is, I was gonna say, the other thing is to qualify these appointments, because I'm gonna be really honest with you, I've wasted my time on a couple of appointments. And that's another thing I'm using from Bowl, is Diana Kukoska's questions. Before you go on the appointment, because she asks like 4 different times about what you think your home is worth and what you owe. Because a lot of times they want to share that with you. But I tell you what, my time is so much smoother, because like on one appointment, I'll be really honest with you, they paid $268. When I pulled up the comps, I was like, I called them back and I said, I know I'm supposed to be coming to your house tomorrow, but I want to have a conversation with you because I don't want to waste your time that's valuable. I said, but you paid $260. And I said, right now, probably the highest that I would even list it as between $235 and $239. So we're talking $30,000 difference. So, I talked to him, he's like, you know what, we've decided, it's better than it was last year, better than the year before. We've already bought a house in Florida, so they already felt the pain of 2 house payments. So it was worth for them to bring money to the table to get this sold. So, but other people, if they would have said, no, I can't do it, then I would say, you know what, I probably need to be your second agent in, or we need to talk about a short sale, and then we kind of have a conversation. But if they're not willing to reduce their price, why go on the appointment? I mean, like, if it's a huge difference, if it's $30,000 to $50,000, keep in touch with them. Just keep in touch with them, keep pinging them if they don't list with somebody else. But, don't go on that appointment. That's a waste of your admin's time to get the pre-list packet out. It's a waste of your drive time. It's a waste of your time over there. And then, why do that? You have to make sure they're going to be reasonable and want to talk to you on the phone and just offer to be the second agent in.
Can I share a couple things about
Yeah.
some thoughts I'm thinking at this point? One, first of all, you're having a conversation over the phone, you're asking them questions, that sort of thing. And the first sign of a motivated individual is that they're answering questions.
Yes. Yes.
So that's a big deal. The second thing is that from the conversation we had about that specific client, it almost sounded like that person turned into, basically a come list me.
Well, and here's what I'll tell you, is they did interview 3 agents, because when I got there, it was the 3rd agent in, And she goes, I'm gonna be really honest with you, you were the only agent that sent a pre-list, you were the only agent that had a conversation on the phone with me ahead of time, and you were the only agent that told me how bad of a position I was in. Every other agent said they could list me at 259 to 260. She goes, I know that's not true, nothing is sold in our neighborhood. She goes, so why would they tell me that? And I said, I guess they want the listing. I said, I want your listing, but I want to sell your listing, so you give me referrals or refer a company.
I was looking at that.
Yeah.
So tell me more about that referral language you use.
Oh, I just say, you know, well, Matt Fettick is another thing. His email address is, and his staff is Andrea, sold not listed. You know, great email, you know, because what he talks about is we're here to get your home sold and get you where you want to be, because we want you to give us referrals and refer all your business to us, because we were honest with you up front and did a great job for you.
So
You
you
know.
think that's a major key to having a higher conversion, pre-qualifying?
Be qualifying, not wasting your time or their time.
And what's maybe one other thing that's helping you out with?
Be honest with them. Be honest with them. That's the biggest thing is, and I know Gina's really good about it too, because I mean, she gets a lot of the listing appointments. She goes on, her conversion rate's great, because she uses the language of sales and she's honest with them. Because, you know what, probably a year before, I took a lot of overpriced listings, but then I started looking at my cost of getting the photos, of our admin time, our follow-up time, and then draining your energy. It's just not worth it. I mean, it's just not. I mean, I'm giving clients an out right now, 2 clients that we have that have refused to reduce their price. They've had 20 showings and they're not getting it. So it's
R&R,
yeah,
reduce or release,
yeah.
R&R.
You know.
So you're using the one thing that you got from both pre-listing questionnaire, and then you're being honest with them.
Mhm.
Can I segue into this a little bit for Bold? Is that some, how has Bold impacted your business?
Oh, every time we've taken it, the girls have seen a big jump in their business, we've seen a big jump in our business, and you're in a different spot, you know, each time that you take it.
So are you gonna be at the first at Bold on August 15th? Not to
Yes.
put you on the spot or anything?
Yes, I am, I am.
And why is that important to you to be there?
Because I like John Prescott, and I think he gives us good energy, and he kind of changes your train of thought, too.
Cool.
You know.
So guys, I've got a sign-in for the first at the Bowl. It's August 15th. You've got a flyer there. I'd love to see everybody here be able to make it. I think that it's a high-value day. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to get real play scripts on how to get more referrals from your sphere of influence. You're also going to identify and attack some beliefs that could be limiting you. And then you're going to get some time-saving techniques. I think you just illustrated one of them with the pre-listing questionnaire. And then to boot, you're also going to get a copy of the one thing that'll be sent to you probably a few weeks after the first step. It doesn't cost anything for the first step. There is an investment for Bold, the full 7 weeks. It is $800, and I understand that $800 is not cheap. I also looked at an interesting statistic today. There was over 15 transactions per person in the last bowl here in St. Louis. So that's agents here on the ground in 7 weeks. Do you know what the average agent per year does in our organization? How many units?
4.
7.
MLS 7.
MLS, in our MLS, the average agent only sells 7 homes a year.
So what's interesting is that that's active agents, by the way. Do you understand what that means?
Is that right?
What is inactive agents?
Referral?
Not just
Oh,
referrals.
not doing business.
They could be licensed with the board and they just haven't done a transaction in 12 months, so they don't count that.
So they don't even count.
Could you imagine what that would be if they actually counted that?
People that pay their,
3 units
Yeah.
per, right? In our organization, our entire agent population is 5.4 units per agent. Producing agents, it's 8.9. Okay, so that means somebody has done a deal or at least one deal plus one. Either way, what's your aha there? 7 weeks, 15 transactions.
You could double your business in 7 weeks.
If you'd like to go ahead and hold a reservation, put your name on here and sign, and then we'll get you registered for it. And then we'll kind of talk a little bit more about that. Stephanie,
Yep.
do you have a chance to stick around if anybody has any
Sure.
questions on some of the strategy strategies.
And I want to tell you, if you're not using a pre-list packet, that changed our listing, because I know you use one too, don't you? Yeah, that's been the best thing I ever implemented.
Awesome.
last year,
I
so.
use one too.
Awesome, Stephanie, great job. How we do today with Stephanie and Christine? Tell you what, Mike, why don't you go ahead and tell us what's going on with the mortgage minute, what's happening in your world?
I actually don't have a lot to report today, but I just did want to say congratulations to the entire office for 147 transactions last month.
Yeah.
So good job to you guys for that.
Hey, brother.
And let me know if you need anything.
What are rates looking like right now?
They're actually staying pretty flat, relatively flat. I mean, they change day to day, but it's staying kind of right at where they're at now. Right now, I think the best execution is around 4.625 to 4.5 on a 30-year fix.
4.5 to 4.62.
Yeah.
What's your crystal ball saying for rates? Are we going up or down?
I'd say go up, but they might trickle down a little bit. But I think, generally speaking, they're going to go up.
You guys catching that? Very good.
Flowers on the fence.
Give us a Liberty Mutual love. It looks like you got a little red face like myself here.
Yeah, red. And it's not in my vocabulary, so.
Yeah, I go beet red and then bleach white.
I don't know, tan is my dark complected German skin. I spoke this morning to some new agents. You're probably gonna hear it again.
That's okay. Sometimes it takes 3 or 4 days.
I quoted 3 people last week that their roofs, keep the roof thing till this happens, so. One of them had an 18-year-old roof, one of them had an 19-year-old roof, and one of them had a 21-year-old roof. And we could not insure any of them. None of the properties we can insure due to the age roof. You need to remember this on the front end.
Hold on, Brent, is that just you Liberty Mutual can't, or anybody?
No, that is the most large carriers across the board.
Okay.
You're going to find some smaller companies out there that will insure them, you're going to pay for them, but just ages of roofs are just so big right now. We can insure, we've kind of taken a big step forward and kind of been the leader on a lot of these. Any roof that is 11 years or older is automatically going to get actual cash value. And that's industry. There's a lot of carriers, some carriers.
What does that mean?
That's what I'm going to explain. Actual cash value is actual cash value is if there's a claim and that roof is $10,000. We're going to pay out the insurance company will pay out $10,000 minus the deductible, which is $1,000, $1,500, whatever it is, minus the depreciated value of the roof at the time of the loss. It's a big difference. Okay?
A whole lot of money.
I'm telling you, you need to start addressing these roofs and insurance right when that contract is written.
These insurance companies covering these roofs like they should be.
What do you mean?
I mean, really, they should be covering them. I mean, why
Well,
are they?
they are, but it's based on the depreciation
Right.
value.
I know, but they're
There's-
just saying 11-year-old roof. 11-year-old roof could be in perfectly good condition.
When you have softball-sized hail that hit Maryland Heights in 2011, I don't care if it's the 3rd year.
So they're just.
Insurance companies are in the business to make money. just like everybody.
I know.
No, well, let me
He
correct
puts it on Facebook.
No, I'm gonna correct that. Hang on, I'm gonna correct what Mike just said. Insurance companies are in the business to make money. Yes, they are.
They make it off the
I
aisle.
am not, I am not asking anybody to cry for an insurance company. Trust me, I scream and yell at claims all the time for my own company. My rate went up $300 this year. I've never filed a claim in my life. I didn't understand it. Okay, last year, Liberty Mutual, 3rd largest carrier in the world, in the state of Missouri, for every $1 we took in for home insurance, we paid out $1.60. I'm not good at math.
Great business model.
I'm not good at math, but that's not good.
You guys are like the government.
No, but I'm telling you, insurance companies don't make money off home insurance in the state of Missouri. They make money off auto insurance. That's how they make it. It just is what it is right now. That storm in 2011, I had a client, softball-sized hail, went straight through her skylight and hit her carpet. That's like a missile. I don't care if a roofer says you get a 30-year roof on it. It's not going to withstand it. Okay? So that was the 2nd highest payout for hail claims in the United States for insurance. Guess what? We own number 1 too, 2011, of course. So if you're living in Missouri You're in wind and hail country. You just are. You just are. But I understand where Laura's coming from. Why aren't you just paying them? Well,
That's
there's.
because I couldn't deal with it.
Well, I know, but there's reasonings why, you know, that's why a lot of companies have made wind, you know, separate wind hail deductibles. That's why they're going to actual cash value. There's a carrier right below us, they went to 7 years on the roof. That might seem like craziness. That might seem like craziness. Oh, 30-year shingle. Well, you can talk to any roofer. That 30-year shingle doesn't hold that much weight when you've got that type of impact hitting.